Abandon hope, all ye who enter here, because things are going to get really ugly in Ho No More Lemmings with the Havoc difficulty. Might only have 20 levels left in the game, but every single one of them is going to kick your butt and will make you pretty much regret ever playing this game. So here's level 1, Tubular Lemmings. Yeah, I don't know, anything that involves the word tubular is usually never a good sign, especially when you remember like Super Mario World, which had this overly obnoxious tubular level where you had to float in the sky. Well, it's time for your lemmings to go tubular while we're going here. Okay, I was trying to bash at the 8 of my building here, but I kind of failed. It's always tricky to do, but it's always a little easier to do whenever your lemming is going toward the right. But that's okay, we still got plenty of builders, so we can afford to spare one just in order to turn back to the other direction. This level in overhaul really doesn't seem that hard, and for the most part, it really isn't. You have more than enough tools in order to do the job. You just need to pay close attention to whatever you need to do. If you've played like taxing difficulty, it should all be stuff you will be able to do. The only thing you have to pay attention to is where you put your blockers, because you cannot bomb them. So I mean, that's not even difficulty. This is just being an asshole. I mean, did that even have any rhyme or reason to be here? Oh, try a little harder next time. Yeah, hope that you can tell that there's an invisible spike just hidden underneath the steel blocks like that. That's really fucking fair. Thank you. I really love this. So yeah, that's pretty much the only reason why this level is in Havoc, because otherwise it's not a hard level in the slightest. It's just about this one spike that you cannot predict that it's here. It's in the middle of the third big steel block, so you're gonna have to build here in order to dodge the hit detection for the spike pillar. I mean, this level is not really going to be a map of things to come for the Havoc difficulty, because for the most part, they will be fairer, because there's not gonna be like asshole traps that come out of left field like that, but they're going to be pretty damn hard, so let that still be a map of things to come. There's not gonna be any easy victories in Havoc. Wait, but I'm not a number, I am a lemming prisoner! So here's one of these levels that, okay, you have an idea of what you have to take as kind of paths in order to get to the end of this level, but pulling it off is a different story altogether. Your first lemming is gonna need to be a climber as well as a floater, because this drop is not survivable otherwise. So you need to build here and then build back to the other parts so that lemmings, whenever they will drop here later in the level, they will survive. So in the meantime, this one lemming has done all of the job that it needs to do, so it's time to send in climber number 2. And you notice that in the background right now, I'm just building a ramp because, well, whenever you're gonna have like all of your 30 lemmings just milling around in the background, it's gonna be hard to set up a ramp to go in the proper direction and have it start in the proper direction. So in the meantime, our climber lemming here just dug twice, and you'll want to make it so that there's gonna be a tiny amount of space for the lemmings to land after him, so that they will be able to survive the drop that will lead all the way here. And you also have to be careful whenever you're building here, because, yeah, you have to be careful with your building. Oh no, that is not what I wanted to happen. Alright, I guess let's try to salvage things. We're gonna get the lemming to turn back, and now we're gonna build the final ramp and hope that I'm not gonna run out of builders by the time that I reach the end of this level. Okay, we barely had enough tools. It's possible to do this level with far less builders than this, but I kinda fucked up twice. So yeah, building up to that tiny block can be pretty tricky because you have to hit it right at the bottom, but you must make sure that your climber is not gonna climb on the block afterwards, because then things are kinda going to derail and go really bad. It is also possible to save all of the lemmings by doing really careful digging through the tiny holes, but it's really not worth the trouble. Alright, so it's the price you have to pay. Yep, the price you have to pay is the biggest level in all of Lemmings. I mean, just look at all of the unnecessary padding on the right that we have going here, which is just one big walkway with no discernible purpose. Or does it? This is a level for Havoc that surprisingly has a pretty good number of solutions attached to it. And this is definitely not how you pull off one of the solutions, so you need to have at least one lemming going to the left like that. And in the meantime, yeah, everybody's gonna go for a stroll. Let's just use all of the space available to us. So yeah, the moral of the story here is, well, while all of the lemmings are gonna wander way off the deep end into useless land, we're gonna have one lemming ready up the path for everybody else. And we're still gonna finish with plenty of time to spare, both in the timer and how far the lemming will be done with their long journey to nowhere. Some people take it a little simpler and they just stick all of the lemmings between the pillars and then free them whenever the time comes, but it's kind of a boring solution. I just prefer to make them run laps around the biggest stretch of wasteland that the entire game has to offer for us. So yeah, the path is ready and we still had at least, I gotta say, a full minute or so before we were gonna run into any kind of problem whatsoever, because here comes the rest of the masses. I really cannot think otherwise. What will be the purpose of the long stretch of land? It has to be the only reason why it's there, because, well, it just feels too good in order to be here. So, wow, you save every lemming. Totally excellent! Hell yeah, it's time for me to put my sunglasses. Oh, welcome to the race against cliches. We're not really sure what the cliches are about, but that is definitely one interesting mess of a level. We have 20 lemmings at our disposal, as well as 20 climbers, which leads you to believe that the way forward to this level is by climbing over all of the high sea pillars. But the thing is, you only have 18 floaters, and some of the drops from the pillars will kill your lemmings. So we're also gonna need to devise a way for 2 of these lemmings to make the journey all the way to the left, where the end of the level is, without floating. Also, a mere 10 seconds or so after the level started, make sure that you raise the release rate all the way up to something high. Something like 75 or even 80. Why? Because you're gonna run out of time, because it's one of these levels that give you a very strict time limit. Yep, we're already ready to send the masses going, so now we're going to assign everybody climbers until that we only have one left. We need to leave one lemming in here, and in the meantime, everybody else is going to be an athlete. There we go, we haven't missed anybody, so next time the bottom lemming is going to be heading toward the right, we're going to make him a climber, and we're going to make him follow after the other lemming, which is currently bashing all the way up here. Because that's the way you can do things without needing to do anything fancy that requires you to float or anything. With that said, you cannot send everybody over there because you need builders in order to steer them in the proper oops. I missed my cue here, so it's time to restart. Yeah, this is the main purpose of your builders in this one level, to just steer your lemmings that are climbing over this giant ice mountain in the proper directions. And also make sure that you keep an eye on your gang that is all the way at the bottom, because they also need to bash through a pillar. So it's also good to have, like, at least some separation between your lead lemming and the second one, and in fact, they might be a little too close, so things might end up going wrong. I'm gonna hope that nothing bad is gonna happen. Otherwise, I might have to separate them a bit more. So let's just bash as close as we can to the wall. Okay, we did it. We need to save everybody here, and if somebody turns back or something, the level is over. So as soon as you start building this ramp, all odds are off. It's all about, will your gang of lemmings make it to the end in time? Yeah, our second floaterless lemming is going to make it fine, but what about everybody else? We're starting to run low out of time, and we still have one pillar to climb. Alright, hurry up, why can't you run? I wish that we were playing Lemmings too, because then my Lemmings will be able to run. Yep, we finished with only 6 seconds to spare. So yeah, when you first play this level, it's gonna seem really overwhelming, and it kinda is, even after playing it. So now here's a level in Havoc that I really love, however. There's madness in the method. Yeah, I know that the saying says the opposite, but here there truly is madness to the method. So how the hell do we prepare a path for all of our lemmings with the tools that we have at hand? And remember, we have to save everybody, and we don't have any floaters or anything. Why, of course, you just mine after having done a basher that just decided to extend the horizontal distance at which you can start mining downwards, and therefore that will make it so that your lemmings are going to be able to survive the drop. Also, by the way, this level is almost impossible to beat on the PC-DOS version because of the inability to assign skills to lemming whenever they're doing nothing, like for instance the Amigo can do. If you hold the right click in that version, remember that you can assign a skill to the walker, and it's vital that you assign the miner to the lemming as soon as he turns into the other direction. So you need some fine control in order to do this. And now we're just going to climb. We're just going to turn. Why are you not turning back? What is this? That was not how it was supposed to go. Now that was truly madness. What were the odds of that happening? The climber lemming just ended up climbing on the tunnel as it was being dug, but it was playing the animation of having finished climbing whenever the floor or the wall will disappear from beneath his hands or whatever. How does that even work? I don't freaking know. This level is just mad. There we go, now everything went perfectly, so now it's a matter of setting off your miner in such a way that, well, your miner is not going to dig all the way down until he meets his doom in the bottomless abyss, and make it so that your lemmings are going to be able to climb on top of the tunnel. So here we go, mission accomplished. Now we just need to wait because, yeah, you kind of have to wait for this one lemming to climb his way all the way back to the beginning, and then finally he'll walk back toward the coveted exit. But yeah, that level is a pretty clever one, and it kind of was mind-blowing when I first played it. Now get out of that! Jeez, Oh No More Lemmings is definitely starting to be pretty authoritative now. Alright, you have to do this now, so yeah, it's going to be a good question indeed. How are we going to get out of that? Well, we're going to learn about this in the next video. We're going to play Havoc in sets of 5 levels because for the most part these levels are pretty elaborate and I kind of want to give them the treatment that they deserve. So that'll be it for this one update, and stay tuned for the next one where we're going to play more Havoc levels.